Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast. I'm Stu Hardy, joined as always by Derek Brissett. Derek, it's been a tough week for Toronto rugby fans to say the least. And yeah, it seems as though that race for the playoff has just got all that little bit harder.
You know what, Stu? Speaking of races, before we get into this, you neglected to actually explain what artificial water is last episode.
Okay.
You mentioned it at the start of the last episode. You said you were going to bring it back, and then we never actually got back to it. And when I was editing the episode, I remembered our artificial water conversation, and you never explained what exactly artificial water is to me. And because unless it's on Drive to Survive, I don't really watch F1 ever. So I still haven't actually looked at any of this. So the floor is yours to explain to me what artificial water is now.
Okay, so
please feel free to use any and all visual aids that you have as well, because I haven't seen it yet.
All right, so the Miami Grand Prix was held this past weekend, and it's held at Miami Gardens, so Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. So it's held in basically, where the Dolphins play. It's basically in the surrounding parking lots and uses some of the roads that are available at that junction. So the original plan was that Miami or the FIA or whoever's in charge wanted to have it in the ports of Miami by the actual marina. But that had a lot of complaints about it. And the owner of Hard Rock Stadium was like, oh, we want to host it instead. So they did that. And one of the things that they were doing to promote the race was they would bring in yachts that would be in a normal marina, put them in the parking lot, and then have basically a reservoir in which they would pour water in. So it's like, here are some yachts on water, just like in the marina. However, they got planning permission to bring in the yachts, but not to actually fill any water in. So what they did was they printed out vinyl of like pool water. So if you were to see an image of pool water, it'd just be like that, and stuck them around the boats.
So it's like tiles.
Kinda, yeah.
Like a laminate flooring that's painted to look like. Did it look good?
This is the weird. Everyone was making jokes about it when it was done, but when you look at like helicopter shots of the race,
you gotta send me pictures. I have to judge this, both the funny ones and these helicopter pictures.
Yeah. So during the race itself, when they were like tracking the cars going around the circuit, especially around this corner, which had it, it looks like water. It looks good it
actually looked good. Eh?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. If it was actual water, it would just reflect what the sky looked like. And if it's not a blue sky, then it's just going to look like a gray, like dump instead. So I think it worked out in the end, but it had its fair share.
I'm Googling pictures of this now. Oh my gosh, that looks very silly up close.
It looks silly up close, but at a distance, it works.
It looks like a PlayStation 2 game.
Yeah.
Like it has a very... There's like people standing on the water. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Get the full Jesus vibes at the F1 race here. Yeah. Walk on water. That's kind of cool. I've never walked on water before.
Yeah.
I can't find a helicopter angle though. I just find like the hilarious. Yeah, there's like people like standing on the water.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Funny. There was a lot of pictures when they released images, but you'll have to watch the race, or probably more accurately, watch Drive to Survive, and they'll have a helicopter shot of the race there.
Which MLR team needs to put fake water around their stadium? Like fake pool party vibes to it.
I think you could. I think you could pull it off with San Diego. Because they technically got a track around there. Imagine if they had a moat
on the roof of the parking lot. Ooh,
yeah.
Oh, that would be good. That would be.
Yeah, if San Diego make the playoffs and they're in a position to host one of the games, then by all means get the artificial water out and have a moat.
Maybe we need a Miami expansion team, and we can like go full in on this. LA kind of feels like the team that should have like an actual like pool party at their stadium.
Yeah, I would have said LA, but
one like that you can actually.
Yeah, they'd actually bring in a real pool with real water and
yeah, exactly. All the guys doing like the noodle bags halftime show can go hang out in the pool after. It's a seamless transition.
Yeah, makes sense. Anyway, let's focus back on our rugby podcast. And
who won the race? You have to fill
Max Verstappen and Red Bull.
Of course.
So yeah, we've been avoiding the subject as long as we could, but we have to talk about the game against New York this past Sunday. It was not pleasant viewing for any Arrows fan. It was just, a lot of anticipation, especially for the game, because the Arrows are coming off a bye week. So, we're looking forward to seeing players back from injury, ready to get into this match. It did not pan out as well as it could. First try scored by New York in the 7th minute, followed up by Ed Fidow in the 11th minute, then Jack Hyton in the 18th minute, and then Ed Fidow again in the 23rd minute. That is a bonus point within 16 minutes. And the only bright spot in that is that Cole Brown getting his first start.
23 minutes.
So yeah, within 23 minutes, but
23
from the 7th.
As that bad. It wasn't that bad.
From the first try in the 7th minute to the 4th try in the 23rd minute.
That's what minutes. You're saying is 16.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay. All right.
But the only reprieve is that getting his first start for the Arrows and in MLR, Cole Brown, scrum half, got his first try in the 21st minute, and that's great to see. But then obviously, as I mentioned, Ed Fidow got his try in the 23rd minute, and that was the bonus point wrapped up. New York storming ahead. And then at the start of the second half, it looked as though New York were going to score another try, but it was called back for a forward pass.
Mm-hmm.
Then Lalani Valeva scored a try in the 48th minute. That was an automatic 7-pointer. So, getting back into the game. Then Sam Malcolm scoring a penalty in the 52nd minute, brought it up to 17. And unfortunately, that was the last time Toronto scored. Toronto were pressing, but they kept making such silly errors, silly handling errors, passing to the space where players had been instead of where the player needed to be. And sure enough, in the 60th minute on the hour mark, Dylan Fawcett got another try, adding to his impressive total in MLR. 4 minutes later, Brendan O'Connor got his, and then finally to add salt to the wound, Fuatai scored in the 79th minute to wrap up the game. The only reprieve I can say from those tries is that Jack Hyton only scored 2 of them.
So Hyton could not make a kick at all.
Yeah, he couldn't even convert his own try. Yeah, and Sam Windsor got the final conversion of Fuatai's try. The game had a moment to restart, but it was kicked straight into New York hands after a Toronto knock-on, and then it was just... I think there was another push to try and get another try, but then the New York players were like, no, let's just end it. And finally did. The final score, 17-41. And this is the Arrows' 4th game this season in which they've been unable to accumulate any table points. So their game against Houston 2 weeks ago, they didn't get anything from that. The game against LA, they didn't get any table points from that. And the game against Seattle at the start of the season, they didn't get anywhere with that. And now they are 11 points adrift from 3rd place in the playoff race. And yeah, it's not good enough, essentially. It's not good enough for the playoffs at this point.
No, yeah, obviously, this loss is a big blow to the playoff races. Obviously, New York was coming into the game with a 7-point lead already. And yeah, the bonus point victory brings them actually past Atlanta now, because Atlanta got lit up by Lance Williams and
we'll talk about that game later.
Yeah. So thanks, Utah. That was a big favor. At least it keeps Atlanta in check a little bit too. So yeah, I guess the outlook now being that, as you said, 11 points back of Atlanta now, as New York's win leapfrogged them. So 11 points back of Atlanta. Basically, before kind of getting into the analysis of this game, you're basically looking at like the Arrows are, I mean, they were probably in full playoff mode going into this game anyways, but like can't lose again. It's, 11 points is like the magic number right now is 50, right? There's 4 games left, 5 points max in each game, currently sitting on 30 points. So the magic number is 50, right? Like you have to, that's the most points that you can get, but at the same time, that's all New York and Atlanta need to get there. So ultimately, I mean, talking to some of the players after this game, especially Mike Shepard, and I'll get the video of his post-match press conference up on our YouTube page as well. But like he was definitely still, despite the loss, really keeping quite the positive attitude as far as the outlook on the season. So, I mean, there's obviously always still going to be that hope until you're mathematically out of it, right? You never know what could happen.
Yeah.
Atlanta has been playing brutal in the past couple of weeks too. So,
yeah,
it's, it could still happen. The Arrows still.
It ain't over till it's over.
Not over till it's over. Arrows still have to play Atlanta. You got 2 games against the 2 worst teams in the league. And you have in Dallas this week, Old Glory's the last game of the season, mixed in with Atlanta, the team that it looks like you're going to have to catch. So that's going to be they're all huge now, but that'll be an especially big one. And then the Free Jacks, that's going to be a tough one because that's going to be a short turnaround, right? Yeah. So either way though, so that's kind of the outlook. Have to win every game. The players still seem like there's the positive energy that they still kind of have going into they look like they're trying to keep a hold of going into the final. Like you said, it's not over till it's over. They're not mathematically out of it, so that means you're not out of it yet. But it's definitely an uphill battle. To the actual game itself, I think it's just this game seemed to be a kind of a mix of New York seemed to have the perfect game plan.
Yeah.
For this, or the perfect, just they seem to know. It seemed like everything that the Arrows wanted to do, New York knew they were going to do it before the Arrows did it.
Yeah.
It was especially like especially on the tries, like those tries were like seamless on a lot of occasions, right? But I think for me, like one of the biggest things from this game too is I think it's like the start kind of epitomizes it a little bit. And it's something that we've talked about on previous episodes. It's something that we've brought up a lot. The very first play of the game, Sam Malcolm kicks off. Ronan Foley, who has probably been the Arrows' best player this year.
Yeah.
Phenomenal kick chase off the opening kickoff, makes a tackle, poaches the ball, earns a penalty immediately, right? Or tries to poach earns a penalty at the ruck, however he did.
Yeah.
Immediately, Sam Malcolm steps up, kicks the ball down into the corner. Like this game's 30 seconds old. The Arrows already have a 5 meter line out 5 meters out, right? And it's held up. Tuiloma comes away with the ball. Good defense from New York. And it's one of those, it's another example of the Arrows get in the 22 or even closer, within 10, within 5, and can't capitalize on it, right? And that's one of those plays that could definitely set the tone for the game. There's the opportunity to be up 5 or 7-0 within the first minute of the game, right? In which, like you said, kind of coming off a bye week, home game, biggest game of the season, the amount of energy that could have brought into York Lions Stadium would have been immense, but New York shuts it down. To their credit, it's good maul defense. New York's maul is the thing that's their bread and butter, right? Is the both on the attacking and defending side of that. So that's tough. And then obviously New York just comes right back down the field. 7 minutes, and 6 minutes later, they get their own maul 5 meters out. Tui Loma comes off the back of the maul, bounces off one Arrows defender and scores. Right. So it's like New York got their opportunity to take the lead early in the game, and they jumped on it.
Yeah.
Right. And then, as you kind of mentioned, floodgates kind of opened. And, it's, as we kind of talked about, it's like you have Ed Fidel gets 2 tries, Heighton gets another one in between Fidel's 2 tries. And, even like going through the game, it was like New York scored tries 2 ways in this game. They had 2 mauls, lineup mauls. They had Tuiloma, Fawcett in the 60th minute. And then it was just a lot of counterattacks up until the last play of the game, in which they looked like they were kind of trying to kill the clock. And then Fuatai just ended up open and was like, I'm going to go score anyways.
Yeah.
But the other tries in the middle of the game were they're off like counterattacks. And there was O'Connor scored off a scrum really fast off it was 2 phases off a scrum for O'Connor's tries. But like Ed Fidel's first try, it's an errant pass goes to deck. It's scooped up immediately by New York, and just New York looked like their game plan was like, as soon as the ball is turned over, it's going to Fidel's wing. Ed Fidel, Jason Emery, and Fayase Fuatai absolutely scorched the Arrows defense this entire game.
Yeah.
Like, just every time they touched the ball, it was a line break. It was through a gap. It was often a gap between the centers, whether that was DeToy, Tafuga, and Matt Hood. Like, the gap was between those 3 guys almost every time. And then, whichever forward was out covering on the wing too. So the first try immediately turned over, and they just fly it out to Fidel. All the Arrows are jumping off the line way too fast. It's just kind of disorganized. Fidel just guns it down the wing, try. Same thing, Heighton again later. So Heighton is a kick, right? They got that. That's a counterattack off a kick, which Matt Hood actually has a really good kick chase from. But there's no one's really in position to help out after his good kick chase. And again, it's right. It's like Fidel starts running, and it's like you kind of look at it. New York's got like a 4-on-1, like running down the wing. And then it's basically just a matter of, I know like the Arrows defense kind of tries to come over and cover, but it's really at that point, though, it's just a matter of picking which guy is going to score this try. Right. And, they cleanly finish it off. Heighton finishes that one off. Later again, Fidel, same thing. It's another counter off a kick. Pryor just gathers Pryor doesn't gather it, but he grabs the ball off the guy that gathered it and just takes off. And there's Emery's there again. Fido's coming through the middle this time. Like, it was just every single time it's down the same. It was counterattack. The Arrows would kick the ball to New York. New York on the first phase would go all the way to, I guess, in the first half, the near side wing, if you're watching it on TV. So to New York's left, they would go down their left wing, and it was just try. There was no tries in this game that were like, oh, New York is like running through phases, grinding down Toronto's defense. Right. It was all just very like, oh, here's a turnover. Here's 3 passes. We scored. Turnover, 3 passes. We scored. So that was tough. And then obviously too, you got O'Connor's try, where it's like which is a little bit different because they have a scrum kind of in the middle of the pitch. Right. And they come off, and it's like the first phase, and they run immediately again at the Toronto Arrows centers. Or I think, Malcolm they look to run between Malcolm and the centers. Right. So that's kind of like seemed to be an area of the field they were targeting. All the Arrows come back coming out of the scrum, come back to defend. Everybody shifts to, from the arrow's point of view, to the left side of the ruck. Right. And then Kiri just walks in, picks up the ball and goes to the right side of the ruck where there's nobody. He's caught from behind, but at that point, Emery's already there for an offload. Right. And again, he's gone. And then it's just a couple passes to get the ball out to the wing again. And they end up, and they, O'Connor ends up getting a try there too. Right. So it's like a lot of their tries they were very quick, and probably too many of them that you can describe as probably too easy. Like, you know what I mean? Just tries that, like you don't really want to, like, even like on the counter attacks, it's like the Arrows D like just opened up like really quick. A lot of times, watching those plays, it was like guys jumping off the line too early, leading to gaps. New York kind of able to, use some skip passes too to get the ball out wide. The overlap was there really quickly. They were able to create that on almost every try. And didn't really like, there's a lot of times it was like there's just so many line breaks, so many holes in the defense. And then it really accumulated to a lot of tries, but like it's, all the with the exception of Fuatai's try at the end of the game where New York was kind of in, we're going to kill the clock mode, but still ended up opening up a ton of gaps in the defense. Right. It's like the first, there's the 2 maul tries and then 4 tries that from 2 from Fidel, Heightons, and O'Connor's, where it was just, it took like from either a counter attack or in O'Connor's case, off the scrum, it took like 1 phase at most to open up the Arrows defense, which just, that's like you said, that's a tough one, right? Because it's it's a must-win game at home, coming off a bye week, not not good enough on the day. New York played well. Like I said, every time Fuatai, Fidel, or Emery touched the ball, like it was just racking up meters. Those 3 guys were insane. Yeah, man, I don't know. I've kind of ranted on for a little bit here. Stu, anything to add to this? What were your thoughts on the game?
I thought it was a masterclass in showing defense and counterattack from like ruck play from New York.
New York
especially.
Was really good, yeah.
Like anytime Toronto were getting close into New York's 22, it just seemed as though New York had like an extra man on the pitch. They were just all in the right places where they needed to be. There was no gaps to come through. And then it was just like the pressure seemed to get to a few of the Arrows players. There were passes that were going to no one. There were, easy knock-ons, it was definitely within like the final 10 or 15 minutes. But it's a symptom. I think at
the end of the game, knowing the situation, it looked like a lot of guys were trying to force stuff and try to make things happen.
Yeah. It seems to be like a symptom of a bigger problem within like the Arrows players playing mentality at the moment, because when things go great, as shown against New Orleans, everything goes really well and the momentum stays with them. They end up putting in like their best performance that they have of the season. But when things go wrong, it all just collapses. There's no clear-headedness, I think, is like what I'm trying to get across, as in when it's been that bad, and it's been, bad in other games as well. This isn't just like a one-off thing.
This is the most points they've given up all year.
That is, but in the sense of, you could have momentum going your way, but the second that, a bounce.
It is. It is the most points they've given up all year. They haven't given up more than 30 points in a game this season.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wait, didn't they give up 30 points against LA?
Oh, yes. No, they gave up. They got 31. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was just, even against that game in LA, against LA even, as soon as LA were able to pull a few things together, it just all went LA's way, and anything Toronto did wasn't enough to get them back into the game. Because we've had 3 games in which the Arrows have been unable to score in a half. So against Seattle and LA, it was in the second half. Against Houston, it was in the first half. The Arrows did score in both halves this game.
To say not in this game, yeah.
But I still feel as though this was like their worst performance of the year. And I want to say so far. I don't want to say so far, is what I need to say. As in, the game against Seattle, you could say, okay, that was the first game of the season. It's the 4 time zones away. But, and it's also the game against Houston as well. This game, something seems amiss. Yeah. And I don't know what it is. X factor, whatever you want to call it. It just seems as though the pressure is getting to the Arrows at the moment.
That's the fun part of having a podcast about sports sometimes, right, Stu? Is you sit here and are like, oh, these are all the problems with this team. I have no idea how to fix this.
Hey, if I knew how to fix it, I'd be coaching the Arrows.
Not talking about them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a good thing that there's people smarter than us that actually.
Nah, I suppose so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think they played worse against Houston. I think even in this game, there's after Fido's second try, New York doesn't score again until the 60th minute with Fawcett. And in that time, the Arrows were playing pretty well. They were doing well to control, Mirez, Malcolm were controlling a bit of territory a little bit. They were good at the breakdown. Set piece was hit and miss at different points in the game, but I feel like in the middle it was a little bit better, right? They played pretty decent rugby, at least in during the middle of this game, but 3 tries in the last 20 minutes and 4 tries in essentially the first 20, right? Kind of are the downfall ultimately. Yeah, so it's they played pretty well during that stretch in the middle, but yeah, just I think the biggest thing though, I think, is even during the kind of the middle stretch of this game too, they had some nice defensive plays. Malcolm had a great tackle on Pryor that saved a try kind of late in the half, which looked like it was going to go a long way to keeping the Toronto Arrows in the game for a bit. Obviously there's the moment too where Malcolm hits a penalty in the 52nd minute, and that, despite being down 17-0 to start the game, basically, right? The first 20 minutes, you're already down 17-0. Despite that, the Arrows in the 52nd minute, Malcolm's penalty, it brought the Arrows back to a 1-possession game. Yeah. And then 8 minutes later, it all completely fell apart again, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a tough game to watch. I guess I think New York played this, I think, one of New York's best games of the year. It was interesting talking to Andrew Coe after the game, who also played great, and I guess has to, with a nice little homecoming for him, I would imagine. Probably, I feel like this is the game that I saw the most opposing team fans that I've ever seen at an Arrows game, and I feel like a lot of that was just because Andrew Coe was playing for New York.
Yeah, Andrew Coe and Quinn Nowady.
Yeah, but Andrew Coe, being specifically from here, playing for a club that's down the road from the even in Toronto here in Markham. I feel like there was a little bit more. I'm imagining most of it is just his family and friends of the New York fans, but it seemed like a little bit higher than usual as far as the traveling fan base goes.
Well, I do know there were a few mothers over from New York to support their baby boys.
Were there? Rugby. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I actually, Dylan Fawcett's parents had come to watch the game as well.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
That was great to see. And some people obviously had a lovely Mother's Day, and some didn't go to plan. But
you're sidetracking me though, because I wanted to actually get to the point that Andrew Coe made in his post-match thing. But they was talking about how they were kind of I'll get this one up on YouTube too. He was kind of talking about how New York's home field in Hoboken, the glorious home of the Red Wings high school football field, it's more narrow right? So they can't play this wide, expansive attacking game that they did against the Arrows, right? Because they can't play that on their home field. And the Toronto Arrows playing on York Lions Stadium, being like a full-size proper rugby pitch, right, kind of allowed them to attack the Arrows edges, which is obviously, when you have wings like Ho, is something that like New York definitely looks to do. And it's honestly, it's made me curious. Like, I want to go back and watch, highlights or clips or whatever of a lot of like New York's road games versus their home games. Just kind of, just like Fido's obviously been racking up the tries this year. But I thought it was super interesting how it's like, it seems like, because they had so much success attacking wide, attacking the edges of Toronto, right? On both sides. Like, I mean, Fido's wing was the one that got all the tries, but Cole himself had some big carries. And they definitely had some opportunities on that wing as well. But it's fascinating to me because it's like, I know in a lot of sports, right, like home field advantage is a really big thing, right? And I remember like even like in hockey, the NHL used to not really standardize the size of the rink, right? So some teams that played on smaller rinks would be like the more physical teams, because you could be more physical on the smaller rink, and that would benefit the team. So those teams would build their players to be like, or build their teams around the guys that played, a physical brand of hockey, such as like the Boston Bruins and stuff, right? Because their rink used to be a little bit smaller. But then, so I find it very kind of interesting that New York almost kind of seems like a team that their home field might be detrimental to the way that they prefer to play rugby in a weird way. Right. Because it's like this wide attacking game certainly seemed to suit them a lot. And I would imagine like whenever Nahalo gets into a game, like they're probably not changing that, because they're going to have some, I mean, between Fidel, Cole, Nahalo, like no matter who's on the pitch, they got some lethal wingers. Right. So I would imagine they would like to utilize those lethal wingers, but so it's kind of interesting that maybe they get to play more of the style of attack on the road versus that they want to on the road versus at home. But I'll get that video of Cole talking about it up, but I might be reading into it a little bit more than what he actually said as well. But it's kind of a fascinating thing because they destroyed Toronto out on the wings in this game. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's an interesting point to make, is if you're used to playing on a narrow field, or if you're playing your 8 home games on a narrow field and then you go on the road to a wider field, suddenly whole new options come available for you. It's
good style. Do you got any positives that you want to talk about from the Arrows? We always try to end the Arrows game talks on positives and stuff. Do you have anything?
Well, again, I'd say Cole Brown getting his first try on his first start in Arrows colors in MLR is obviously something great that we want to see. Cole Brown obviously has been unavailable for the first 12 weeks of the season, and he was in the academy match.
And unfortunately got injured in this game too.
Oh, what? An Arrow scrum half injured. What a completely new development.
Man, this is honest. Like, I mean, I know every single team.
Well, the good news is the trade deadline ends today. So we'll have plenty of time.
Trade and signing deadline is today. Today, as we're recording, 2 days ago, as you're listening to it.
Yeah.
We'll get into the only trade that we know of at this point in time later. This is the most wild injury situation I think I've seen watching rugby.
Yeah. The Arrows have had seven scrum halves.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering where Donato and Gordy are, it's that they were on the short-term deals that because they have other jobs that they originally had contracts that they had to do.
Yeah. Well, like, remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about this, like Donato was like in Poland.
Yeah, he's gone back to Poland because he's a teacher out in Poland.
Yeah,
and
it's wild.
They're probably like this few days off you needed has gone on for quite a bit. So
yeah, but it's even like Brody. It sounds like Brody should be back soon.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'm hoping he's back for Dallas. That would be like,
Yeah.
it's so needed.
Yeah.
Ferguson played one game. Seattle, he got injured in the first game, right?
Yeah. First game, he came on as a sub,
Yeah.
I believe, and then got injured
in the first, first game, and then Bell was kind of backing up Brody for a bit. He got injured real
against
bad
Atlanta.
against Atlanta. And then like Brown, as you said, Brown's been hurt basically the entire year. He plays for the academy last week, gets immediately thrown into his first start by being the only healthy scrum half, and then scores a try, an amazing moment. And then unfortunately, the end of the game, it looks like he's gets injured too. Sam Reimer, again, just 19 years old from the Oshawa Vikings. He gets into his first MLR game this year, and first MLR game, and I think, in all honesty, both Brown and Reimer played really well. For guys making their debut, probably in what is realistically a bit of an emergency situation for the Arrows. I know Brown obviously has been on the team the whole year; he's just been injured, but it's just a wild situation. As you said, Stu, they're on Brody, Ferguson, Bell, DiNardo, McCrory, Brown, Reimer have all played, and I guess technically, if you want to throw in Sam Malcolm, has technically played scrum half at one point this season too.
Yeah.
So there's been plenty of different scrum halves on the Arrows. It's wild looking at like their depth chart. I think so. That was cool. I think other positives too. Lonnie Faleva is playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah, it's his third try in two games.
3 tries in 2 games. But it's also like he's getting a ton of carries. He's racking up some meters. Getting those like really hard meters too. Going into contact. His run, like he in the last like 2 games just seems to be like the guy that's running like the perfect support line. In order to finish off these tries. I liked that in this game he had like the nice, like he almost had the nice like winger that scores 10 tries a season finish. The walk under, the slowly putting the ball down or whatever. That was a nice move. I liked the little bit of swagger there. That was nice. So yeah, he's been absolutely unreal. The Arrows got a couple scrum penalties and stuff out of the game too. So big part of that being in the front row. So I like, he's been playing very well. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, has Ronan Foley been the best player for the Toronto Arrows this year?
Yeah, pretty much.
He was outstanding in this game again. Setting up both tries, just constantly involved at the break ground, insane work rate. Just a phenomenal season from him. And then I still thought Malcolm was really good too. He kind of had some shining defensive moments in this game. Like I said, he made that one tackle on Pryor that caused a knock on that looked to kind of save a try. Even with Coe out on the wing there, maybe Pryor should have used that option, but Malcolm got to him before anyways. And so like I think he's been playing well. Nice to have Mirez back too.
Definitely.
Just a little bit more of a calming presence in the fullback position, but wild. The biggest positive I think from this game, though, I don't think it was necessarily shown on TV if you didn't watch it. So maybe only if you were there, you kind of would have saw it. But a whole bunch of the Toronto, they did a little rookie rugby event after the game. And a whole bunch of the Toronto Arrows, like, I mean, between guys that actually played in the game and guys that are injured / weren't dressed to be in the lineup, there's probably a good like 10 to 15, like 10-ish players that stuck around on the pitch after the game to play rugby with a massive group of kids. Which was just amazing to see. And it was like a lot of Arrows players that stuck around there. I know like Vicolani and Wadden too were out there still like wearing like their match gear. They didn't even bother to like go get changed or anything out of it. And they stuck around for like a good like half an hour at least. just playing rugby with a group of kids, right? Which was really awesome to see that all the initiatives and stuff that
Yeah.
the Arrows are undertaking to to grow the game beyond
Yeah.
just beyond just kind of like promoting, like it promotes the
Yeah.
Arrows brand, but
Yeah.
you
Beyond
want,
plaudits and
yeah, exactly, you
just
want that next
mass
generation of
service.
kids and stuff. And I mean, it's really cool to see. I mean, it's something that myself growing up in Canada, like I I didn't really get introduced to rugby until high school, right? So it's like
Yeah.
seeing like this group of like all these kids that are like, probably like 10, 11, 12 years old or whatever they were, whatever everybody was, maybe even younger in some cases. But like to see like all these kids like having this opportunity to just go and play rugby, and a lot of it's just kind of like definitely like messing around, having fun. I think Siaki Vikulani was trying to teach a kid how to do a drop kick, which is awesome. The perfect man to learn from, I think. Like that stuff's that was just like really cool to kind of see, right? And it's like one of those really awesome things that which makes going to an Arrows game so fun and cool for basically for everybody involved, man. There's no other team in the city is going to let you let you kind of hang out with the players and stuff after the game, especially
Yeah.
and necessarily like let the kids go run on the field with the players as well. They had a whole bunch, there's a bunch of guys too that even if they weren't doing the drills and stuff, there's a lot of guys sticking around like signing autographs and things like that. There's a lot of balls and posters and stuff being passed
Yeah.
around for autographs and things like that too. So good on so there's definitely a lot of like outreach and building the fan base, and which is super important. I mean, like it was great to see, like no matter what happens, man, like you can't, like not every game is going to go your way, but if every time that you can come out to an Arrows game, it's like they create a really awesome match day experience and stuff for people of all ages. And if all the games are fun and have that super fun like match day atmosphere, then people are going to constantly come out, right? So
Yeah.
you're not going to win every game, but even whether you win or lose, like the game day experience should still be a ton of fun, and that's what you
of course, absolutely.
So, I just thought that was great to see after the game. So good on all the Arrows players that stuck around to play some rugby with a bunch of kids after that game.
Yeah, and you mentioned about Arrows branding getting out there. Well, it was also announced today that the Arrows have released their design for their city jersey for the 2022 MLR season, and they will be wearing it against Dallas this coming Saturday. And it's pretty good jersey. It's similar to the away kit. It has like the Cool Bet logo with their polar bear at the end. But the base of the shirt has the Toronto skyline, so it includes like the CN Tower. And it's silhouetted. It works really well because it's very dark blue, like navy blue against clouds, and then it merges into the shirt design. And if you're a fan of last year's designs and you're like, oh, I wish these shirts had a collar again, well, good news, because the collar is back to these city jersey designs. It looks really good, and there's also a bit of white at the bottom as well, which contrasts really well with the navy silhouette of the Toronto skyline. It just looks like a really good jersey to have. And these jerseys will be available. The match-worn jerseys will be signed and auctioned, and the bidding is open now. It's open for the next week, so you have until next Monday, which, if my maths is correct, should be the 16th, to get your bids in. I think starting bids are $200 and $25 increments from there.
Yeah, no, it's I've been loving some of these city jerseys that the teams have been rolling out. Big fan of the idea of doing a lot of alternate jerseys, and I mean, I know we've talked about a lot on our podcast the whole idea of having last names or selling jerseys with players' names on the backs, and I mean, it's the idea of like creating a special jersey specifically, essentially for the purpose of auctioning them off as game worn jerseys, is an idea that that really does work for me. I do enjoy it. I think the bidding starting at like I think is it $200.
Yes, $200 for a
$200
jersey.
is the opening bid. So yeah, like I mean I think the jerseys look great too. Honestly, they're probably my favorite of the city jerseys. So I know I kind of say that. I don't know. I just like the Arrows jerseys. Maybe I'm looking at them with Arrows colored glasses, but I feel like in general, the Arrows have the best kit in the league overall. But I like, yeah, no, I really like these. It's good. I like the fact too, like I've seen Seattle, like in contrast, because like they kept it like it's still like the blue and white. So it's still, I mean, the picture that the Arrows released has Roland McCann Rumball, right? And it's it's like there you can see like the shorts and stuff, and it looks good with the shorts,
Yeah.
right? Because they kept it blue and white.
Yeah.
Whereas like Seattle's jersey that they wore this week, the shirt I thought looked awesome on its own. The black with the bright green I thought it looked amazing on its own. But when you watch the game and they had like a different colored shorts and different colored socks from the base of their jersey, it was kind of looked off a little bit. Like you kind of needed to go with you needed to bust out the black shorts, black socks in order to really pull off that kit to me. But
Yeah.
Overall, like I thought, I think San Diego City kit is their best jersey.
All right.
Like, but I thought that's their best one. But if you recall from the our kit episode before the season, I was not a big fan of San Diego's jerseys at all. So I like the city though. But yeah, I mean Austin's looked pretty good too. It's like I like the idea of and obviously Old Glory's undefeated in theirs. So it's causing some wins and stuff. But I mean, yeah, no, I've been loving it. I love the initiative. Get some more kits out, get some kits that are, player specific kits that are able to be auctioned off to fans and stuff like that too. It's a good idea. And, looking forward to seeing them wear it under the lights this time.
Yeah, there's a 7 p.m. kickoff.
Yeah, 7 p.m.
Saturday.
I'm looking forward to it. Nice change.
The weather looks good. Set to be about 18 degrees, according to current predictions. Only 20% chance of precipitation. So, yeah, it should be a good opportunity to get out. Cooler atmosphere under the lights. Yeah, looking forward to seeing everyone there this Saturday.
Back-to-back night games now, which is always fun. They got New England on the 19th right after.
Yeah, we'll deal with that later. Let's just focus on Dallas at the moment. All right, now we need to talk about like the other Canadian performances that happened during this round, and we start off with New England versus DC. Now, New England had obviously been on a pretty good run. DC, they put in 2 wins in their cherry blossom jerseys, but I think this was far closer than a lot of people thought it was going to be. At one point, DC was ahead, only by a point, but still ahead. And then, unfortunately, New England remembered that they were New England and had a 8-match winning streak that they wanted to extend to 9. So they put in 2 tries at the end to get them over. However, the final word of the match would go to DC, and it would be Doug Fraser getting his 2nd try of the match, and that would leave the final score as New England 26, DC 20. So New England do have now a 9-match winning streak, and that also means that they have become the first team of the 2022 season to secure a playoff spot.
Yeah, New England's been wild this year, man. They've been one of the best teams in the league. DC. It's always kind of funny though, like DC. One of those games that it's like maybe you don't expect DC to give them as much of a run for their money as they did, but they were able to pull it off in the end. And Doug Fraser, as you mentioned, big 2-try performance. His first try, Talatenia, unreal pass.
Yeah,
like that was like a 40-yard pass, or maybe not that far, but that was a long pass to get Fraser out on the wing. Great try. Great try by both of them, the pass and the finish. And then obviously, Fraser getting the securing a bonus point for the for Old Glory. So that's see the big try at the end of the game. I love the mindset of Old Glory too, man. Like they They tried to get that. They dropped goal from the touch line as the conversion, which went through.
Yeah.
Amazing kick. Kind of goes to show it's like as late in the game, it's like as late in the game, and maybe their season hasn't gone as according to plan for them, but they're definitely still battling. As you said, they had 2 wins the previous 2 weeks leading up to this, and then they put in a really strong performance against the probably the best team in the league right now. But New England's New England, and still have not lost at home, which is wild. Yeah, like what a record at home, man. Which is going to bode well for you guys because you're going to probably have a home field advantage in the playoffs now too. So,
indeed. Second game was Utah versus ATL. And, this started off as a pretty close fixture, league going back and forth. But then, a few haphazard plays came into the game, and Utah started to get a big lead. And although I think one of my favorite points in the match was the instantaneous response from Rugby ATL after I'm trying to remember who scored. Either way, Utah scored points.
It was a penalty, and then Connor Cook came back and scored a try in like 7 seconds or something.
Yeah, it's basically
what felt like 7 seconds.
Yeah, it's basically the kick. The restart kick went into Utah's hands. It got fumbled, and Connor Cook was there to collect and pin the ball down. And it was just a very intense game. But then right at the end, it just went all Utah's way, the way of the Warriors. As you mentioned earlier, Lance Williams, 50 caps in MLR and put on probably his best performance in a Utah jersey that I've ever seen. Just here, there, and everywhere. Scored 2 tries himself in the 23rd and 60th minute. And then Joseph Mano getting the try after Mikey Te'o was able to collect the intercept right on like the 80th minute, just to really add salt to Rugby ATL's wound. The final score, Utah 44, ATL 26. And that loss has pushed Atlanta from second in the East to third. And they are now 11 points ahead of Toronto. But they have some pretty tough games coming up. They will face New England this Friday. Then the following week, they'll face New York. These are both away games. Then they face Toronto at home in the Fire and Ice Cup. And then they finish off with NOLA Gold.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, Atlanta's schedule is not fun to end the year, dude. Like the arrows.
But those 2 games against like New England and New York, can you see them? First of all, can you see them winning? And if you can't see them winning, can you see them leaving with bonus points? Well, so after how they played in the past 2 weeks.
Well, okay, so like I guess that's the thing, right? Is so what they're 9. So what did we say? The magic number is 50, right? Yeah. So
the Arrows can finish the season on 50 points. They have 20 available at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say the Arrows do that, right? We'll have to keep the faith. They'll get 5 points, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna say if the Arrows are gonna go 4-0 to end the year, which means we're already giving Atlanta 1 loss.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's the thing. It's like Atlanta's got to play the best team in the league, and then the other current playoff team.
Yeah.
Right. So if Atlanta goes 3-1 and the Arrows are 4-0, picking up some bonus points along the way, that's playoffs.
Yeah.
I think that math checks out, right? Like it's not Atlanta's schedule to end the year is really hard.
Yeah.
As you said,
to be honest, I think for the top 4 teams in the East, it is hard because they're all playing each other.
They're all playing each other. Yeah.
The Arrows played New York this week. Then it's New England, Atlanta. Yeah. Then in the same week as New York versus ATL, it'll be Toronto hosting New England. It's tough.
New York or Toronto gets a little bit of a benefit. They got the Jackals and Old Glory mixed in there, which are two games that you obviously have.
That is true, but I'm also think that Old Glory are playing far better than they did.
Old Glory's playing really.
They're playing so much better than when the Arrows last played them. Never mind the start of the season.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be interesting too. I mean, it's there. Like, I mean, the math is there. I mean,
if the maths, then math.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's a reason you have to play the games, right?
Yeah.
So you never know what's going to happen, but like it does work out, man. Like Atlanta hasn't been playing as well as they've been over the past, like at the start of the year. It's kind of the opposite of Old Glory, right? Like they're kind of tailing off a little bit. And so I think there's opportunity there. It's definitely the Arrows need help. For sure. To make the playoffs, the Arrows need help.
That's the annoying thing.
It's help is teams beating I think that help right now is teams beating Atlanta. Obviously, Atlanta has to play New York, and they're really close. And I mean, somebody's got to win that game, and somebody's got to lose that game. Depending on how far the point gap is, maybe it won't matter. But so that's it's tough. You definitely need help, right?
But actually, that's something that we should talk about. We could have saved it for later, but I think it's best if we include it now. So it has been announced that today, May 9th, is the trade and signing deadline for the 2022 MLR season. Nothing's been updated as the time of recording on the trade wire. However, it has been announced that Cole Davis has been traded to Atlanta. So that means there's now 4 Canadians playing for Rugby ATL and no Canadians at Austin, which I think means that they should lose. They should lose every game now.
Austin's now the least favorite team in the league.
Exactly.
So I think that's a great move for Cole Davis, at least. Definitely not getting any playing time with Austin. So hopefully Atlanta can find a use for him and get him back into some games. He played really well last year, but obviously some guys coming in, especially Dominguez, right, makes it tough to crack that Austin lineup, especially when they're having the success that they're having. But also, speaking of Canadians, though, we haven't really even touched on the real reason why Utah won this game.
Oh yes,
right.
Yeah.
Emerson Pryor, first start your Canadians win. It's not hard.
Yeah. Okay. You have 6 games where you don't start Emerson Pryor, you lose them all. First game where he starts, you win.
Exactly. There you go. It's not hard.
That is the math thing.
It's not hard. Yeah, you might come up at practice, but you haven't played him yet. And now that you play him, and he was really good too. Good first start.
He had a great game. Well, speaking of trade,
develop more.
Speaking of trades between Atlanta and Austin and wanting Austin to lose, we have the Gillies Cup result, which is between LA and Austin. And this was, a hotly tested match, very close in terms of both attack and defense, as is reflected in the score. And, I think Will Maggie will just be having nightmares of this game for the rest of the season. But we have to talk about the only Canadian involvement on the scoreboard, and that was Ben Lesage getting the first try of the game in the 30th minute. And that was converted by Harrison Goddard. At this point, Goddard has already scored a penalty, so this brought LA to 10. And Will Maggie had scored 1 penalty for Austin at this point. He actually missed from the penalty kicks twice more, so only 1 out of 3 kicks. But Austin refused to refused to roll over, refused to die, and Chris Martina was able to score right in the red, 3 minutes over 80-minute clock. Will Maggie steps up for the conversion and kicks it wide. LA win back the Gilly Cup.
I can't believe he missed that kick.
I know. I can't believe he missed some of the earlier penalties. I was for crying out loud.
Yeah, those two, but that
missed it by a bus, for crying out loud.
That last kick too, though. It wasn't even again, this is gonna be one of those moments where it's as a podcast, we'll be that seems like a makeable kick for sure. even though there's no way I could ever possibly make that kick.
Yeah, but we expect Will Maggie to have
exactly. It was definitely a makeable kick, and
wow. But then again, my philosophy when it comes to if you're losing a match by 2 points, you could have also been in a position to not be like 7 points behind in the red either. But but again, this was a game for the purists, I would say. Equally matched in defense and attack.
See Ben Lesage get the pick up that game-winning try. So
always good to see
game-winning try. The way hockey counts game-winning goals, as in you scored the goal that this try that ended up winning the game, anyways, no matter what time of the game it actually appeared in. So yeah, good. That was nice. Great to see Lesage do that. Lots of decent chunk of Canadian tries this week, which is always nice to see.
And then we follow off with a Western clash between San Diego and Houston, and this is in the battle for the playoff spot in the West. San Diego hosting, but this game was started out as looking right in San Diego's favor with a Peter Malcolm try in the 4th minute. But 3 minutes later, Gideon Van Wink scores a try for the Sabercats and, kind of set the tone for the match at that point because Houston ended up scoring 6 tries this game and all different try scorers. I think Ryan Mateus, had a great collection kick. That was, I think I may have got my games mixed up. This was the game in which Houston scored a try in the 56th minute, got the conversion, and then was setting up for to receive the kickoff. San Diego kicked it. Mateus was able to collect the ball and score a try. Mateus recently announced that he was retiring from international duty, focusing on playing for the Legion and coaching as well. And, what a great way to cap off that announcement by proving, still got it, still able to score tries. Fantastic work. But after that try scored, it was Dean Muir in the 66th minute, and then finally to end the game, Zachary Pangilinan in the 79th minute. The final score, San Diego 24, Houston 34. I think this was the, I don't know if it was the only game to have yellow cards, but it was only game in which both teams had yellow cards. We still got to go 1 week in which no MLR team gets a yellow card during competition. But it'll come. One day it'll come.
Does it matter if it comes? Is that really a big deal? Is that something that other leagues strive for? As in anything that can keep your entire team on the field throughout the game is always a plus. So that's all right. Mm-hmm. So that's a big win for Houston, obviously, with the playoff race, the way it's shaping up out in the West. To beat San Diego in San Diego, that's massive. Now they're sitting tied with Seattle, 36 points each.
Yeah,
man, and San Diego too, also not far behind, just with 33 points, man.
Yes, but this is the thing: Houston have a game in hand, so.
On both of them, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Now we're in the definite business end of the season. It's
Houston's bye week.
Oh no, Houston have already had that.
Oh,
it's Seattle and San Diego that need to have that bye.
Yes, excuse me, you're correct. So Seattle's got a week 16 bye. And San Diego has the final week, the week 18 bye. So that's going to be tough because San Diego's you're going to have to put in your performance in week 17, and then you have to sit and watch what happens in week 18.
Yeah, it's never fun having the last week as a bye week.
Yeah,
you just have to biting your fingernails essentially at that point.
Yeah, just pure scoreboard watching. That is rough.
Yeah.
But
anyway. Well, speaking of rough circumstances, let's talk about the Seattle game because, boy, howdy, this was a record setter to say the least. So, game starts. Dan Creel able to get a try within the first minute, but
if you go through every single try, man, we're going to be like 20 minutes over time here.
No, I'm just saying that Dan Creel got the first try, and then Carla Denisian, after phenomenal scrum work from the Jackals, Yeah, get it. Chris Pennell converted in the 9th minute. And that's when Dallas stopped scoring for the rest of the game because Andrew Giratalo scored in the 12th minute. And then Rickard Hatton got the first of his 2 tries. Sam Mantiga got the first of his 2 tries. Ross Neal got the first of his 2 tries. And Naomi Futai got the first of his 2 tries. So 4 players from Seattle scored 2 tries. So that's 8. Andrew Giratolo, Dan Creel, and Sean McNulty got 1 each. So that is 11 tries for Seattle.
Alatimu 8 for 11 on conversions.
Yeah, and as well as a penalty. Final score: Seattle 74 to Dallas's 7.
All NWL records. Most points, most tries in a game, biggest
and the highest winning margin.
Only thing they didn't get the most try scorers in a game.
That's the thing. When you're selfish enough to score 2 tries in the game, and you just
4 guys. It's like maybe pass the ball, Hatting.
Yeah,
selfish.
You can get a yellow card, but you can't get someone else to score tries. Yeah,
someone Ross Neal, man. Just pass it to someone else.
Classical English, just keeping it all to themselves.
Yes.
Right. But as we mentioned,
walk in some tries here.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. But as we said, unfortunately, we haven't got any more news of trades at the moment. Hopefully, they'll be announced within the next few days. But today, if there are any trades to be announced, there's still time in the day. I don't know when the cutoff point is. If it's midnight, which time zone is that midnight?
This is going to be one of those podcast episodes. I feel like where a bunch of stuff's going to get announced before it comes out.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that in the next episode. Yeah. Okay, well, and those are all the games that happened this weekend. And if you're looking to watch any rugby this coming week, we have the Champions and Challenge Cup semi-finals this weekend, which you can watch on epcrugby.tv. Super Rugby Pacific is into its final few rounds, and you can watch that on TSN. If you're looking to watch any of the non-Arrows games, you can find that on the Rugby Network. And if you are looking for the Arrows versus Dallas game and you won't be in the GTA area and unable to come to the match, you can watch it on TSN this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, everybody should come up to the match, man. I
think they should. Yeah, as in
good time. The Arrows create a great match day environment. Also, hopefully the Leafs end this series in 6, so you don't have to worry about it. And if they don't and they have to go to Game 7, you should come to the Arrows game instead of getting your heart broken for the 20th time. Anyways,
yeah, we all know how this song and dance goes. So don't put yourself through the heartache.
It's like what would you rather watch? The Arrows put up 50 points on Dallas, or the Leafs blow another 4-1 lead or something,
exactly,
and lose Game 7? Like, what would you rather watch?
Exactly. Well, it has come to round 15. Derek, it is time for us to make our predictions. First up, we have a big Eastern clash, New England versus ATL.
I mean, New England's obviously probably the best team in the league right now. I am all about Atlanta losing now.
That makes sense.
I don't even care who they're playing. I just want it out in the universe that Atlanta's going to lose. So I'm all about Atlanta losing. Sorry, Cole Davis, you're showing up at a very bad time for this franchise. They're going to lose every game that you play in this year.
Yeah, that's the thing. Atlanta have now got 4 Canadians, but New England have 5 Canadians on their bench. 5 Canadians 5 Mounties to choose from.
Yeah, that's
so. I think it's only fair we go with those who have been with the Canadian representation longer. So I'll also pick New England. Yeah. Up next, we have Under the Lights, Toronto versus Dallas. Derek, we're both picking Toronto, aren't we?
Obviously, they need these wins, and I'm looking. It's gotta be a big bounce back game, and I'm looking forward to Toronto crushing it next week.
Okay, the third game of the round is a big clash in the West. It is Houston versus Utah. Utah need the win to stay within the playoff race, but it's Houston have just been on another level recently. I think I will be going with the SaberCats.
Yeah. I'm all for Utah just ruining people's years with how tight this Western Conference is. Let's go Utah. Let's have some fun in the West. Let's make this insanely tight.
Okay, now we've gone from the West. We're now going to another Eastern game. It is NOLA Gold, back from their bye week, hosting Old Glory DC.
Who's at home?
When I said NOLA is hosting,
NOLA is hosting.
That kind of gave it away.
That's what that means? Oh, yeah. Man. Okay, so DC then. If NOLA's at home, DC, I'm picking DC because.
Oh yeah,
they might be the worst home team. NOLA might be the worst home team in sports right now. Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, they've 0-6 at home this season.
Yeah,
and DC have been performing. I mean, if they could get a temporary lead against the league leaders at the moment, it's definitely saying something.
Yeah, let's.
I'm going to pick DC as well.
All right. Neither one of us having faith in NOLA at home, eh? All
right. Back from a bye week, freshly refreshed, but it's at home. So
I can't wait to see the cool betting lines. I want to see if they. You got a team that's technically in last versus a team that can't win at home. It's going to be an interesting line.
Okay. The fifth game we have is New York versus Seattle at JFK Stadium. So, this is where I'm going to go with my heart because I want to help Toronto as much as I can. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take a leaf out of your book. I'm going to go for the team that can help benefit the Hours as much as possible. So I will be going with Seattle.
I like your mind. I like your mindset here. Let's go. Yeah, Seattle. Let's go Seawolves.
All right. And then the final game of the weekend, it's an entirely Western match, and it is for the Cali Cup as San Diego hosts the LA Guiltinis. Derek, who do you have?
Oh man, that's a big one. It's a big one too. I think I'm going to take LA. I think they've been killing it lately. They've been playing really well. They've been getting guys back from injuries, getting guys back from some suspensions. I think is IE back this week?
Let me.
Or does he have one more?
I have a feeling it's a game against Utah.
No, that's Irma size back against Utah, isn't it?
Dallas is where IE is back.
Oh,
so that is the week. That's the
week after.
That's the week before Utah, but it's a week after this one. So yeah, I is
so
not
never
available.
Mind. Never mind. Either way. So my logic is apparently completely flawed, but I'm still going to pick LA.
Yeah, I think Austin have won the best defenses, and LA was able to match it as well. San Diego has proven this match against the game against Houston that's indiscipline still creeping in. So I will be agreeing with you, and hopefully we can see another Ben Lesage try. I'm picking LA.
Saw Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness on the weekend as well. No rugby references. It's a shame.
MCU, come on.
And the same, and out of all the multiverses they had, they didn't have like a rugby universe. It's sad. No rugby reference in Moon Knight either. It's a damn shame what's going on.
I will say, if you're looking for anything that has rugby references in it, Netflix has a series called Heartstopper, which is about two schoolboys finding love, but one of them plays for the rugby team and convinces the other one to join the rugby team so they can spend a bit of time together. So
I've watched like 2 episodes of it. Have you watched more? Or
I haven't yet because I think it's still like an episodic release. So
I think they got like all. I think it's 8 or 10 or something like that. That's all up. Okay. Yeah, it's all up. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, but if there's clearly a lot of rugby in it, so that's the reason.
Yeah, there's a decent. It seems like a big piece of the plot so far.
That's always good. Anyway, Derek and I have made our predictions, but if you are looking for the Toonies predictions, you can find that on our TikTok account. In fact, you can find us across all social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Rouge Rugby. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you can listen to more of our back catalogue on Anchor FM, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if you like watching the podcast, you can see all our episodes as well as clips that we have from games, including interviews, as we've said, with the aforementioned Andrew Coe and Quinn Nawadi on our YouTube channel. Again, that is at the Rouge Rugby. Derek, where can people find you on social media?
At Brissette the Jet across every single social media platform that you could possibly think of.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram mainly at Hardman, spelled H4RDMAN. Well, Derek, thank you for joining me for this episode of the podcast, and thank you all for joining us. We hope you can join us again next time.